I'm not in the thing. I fucked up. Every time. I cannot start a stream without Scuff.
Yep, it's true. Hi, I'm here now.
There you are.
I exist. Hello. Hello, everybody. I am small.
You are small.
I am small. Help. I'm out of the frame. Oop, there I am.
I don't want you to be that big though, because then we're gonna start covering up the game.
I'm a little fairy. It's cool.
Well, but I still don't think you're in lore smaller than me.
Well,
I didn't plug in my controller either.
Wow. Okay, we're not prepared today, everybody. And by we,
Are we ever? Are we ever pointing at myself?
Yeah. Well, your hands don't move.
Not yet.
Your hands can't move.
I'm working that out though.
That's because nobody can see this. But I'm gonna reveal a little little background secret to the nobody that's here. See, Jack's hands are constantly petting a cat down there, so they just can't move them at all ever.
There's no cat.
There is a cat.
No, there's no
it's
cat.
Just not in this room.
You're right. Oh, I fucked up because I didn't start the game with the controller, and so now I have to. One day, I will start a stream with no Scuff.
Well, it's okay because nobody's here. You could just edit this part out of the mods.
Ha! You think I'm gonna edit?
I mean, that is a decision you could make.
No editing.
That is also a
decision. It was
decision
slot 2,
make.
right?
I think so. Yeah, slot 2.
Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go. It's costume time.
What are we doing?
We're trick-or-treating.
Oh, cool.
We've done all the mini quests for everybody, so now we just have to trick-or-treat at every house. So let's head down to the bottom of the hill and start there, because we're going to end up at the top of the hill anyway. Being careful not to run into any of the Pudgy-arcs.
Yeah.
Okay, now you want to equip your
Yeti.
Yeti. Yeti.
I was playing a lot of.
This is the best setup for normal battles.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful not to punch the slugs.
I will not punch the slugs if I can help it.
Oh, you also want to go visit Shady.
Oh yeah, true. Let's go.
The Yeti's a really good defensive type. Being able to shield the entire party. And having good stats on top of that.
Ooh. I may have trouble with controls today because I've been playing a lot of Mario Party.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So I have to like remap my brain to Xbox.
But should have used the 2-ply TP on one of them.
I should have.
Not that it matters. You're not going to lose to 2 guys.
I'm not. That would be
2 guys that are lower level than you.
That would be embarrassing. That'd be really embarrassing. When we use the 2-ply on him, he can't hit me, right?
Yeah. It's an attackable 2-turn stun.
Nice. Not that it matters, cause death now. Death time. Oh, it's an armor.
Yep.
It said armor, and I still now it's death time.
Yeah.
It's early. That's my excuse. My brain is still in working on live 2D mode, I think. Ghost pirate. Skeleton pirate.
Ghost pirate, skelly pirate, yeah.
Yeah.
So go visit Shady and get some better battle stamps.
Okay. The robot is the best for zooming.
Yep. There he is.
Hey, Shady. Rotten Pumpkin Guts is good.
Yeah.
Skelly pirates are still ghosts. Are they?
Yeah. I mean,
causes damage to attackers. That's kind of cool. They just have more on their resume. Yeah. I feel like counterattack is good.
I feel like you have the 2-ply, so that's you're gonna want to keep that on.
Mm-hmm. Headless Banshee?
Yeah, Headless Banshee for the boss fight.
Good morning! I have once again altered my current model. I made the eyes kawaii.
So you should put that on Everett.
Yeah, Everett gets those, and
then Reynolds sticks with what he's got. You just stick with what you've got.
Well, no, because Reynold is the healer right now.
Yeah, so he should be the one to do the stun.
So he should have
boss,
the
but for
resurrect.
the normal enemies, no, keep it for the boss, but for the normal enemies, which you're unlikely to die on, keep the stun.
And then, because the jawbone is just like increase in attack power, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I kind of want the counterattack.
No, you can do the counterattack if you want.
But I need more candy.
You can't afford it yet.
Need more candy.
But you can get it if you want. But in that case, you should switch Ren and Everett's costumes.
Why?
Because the pirate has higher attack power.
Ah, okay.
So if you're gonna have the counter on somebody, it should be on the one with the higher attack.
Yeah. We're doing good. We're a little bit sleepy.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit sleepy.
Our revolution was better than yours is such a funny thing to say. What does that even mean? Attack the priest, yeah.
Stun the hurler. He can do more damage and the priest will go down faster.
Yeah.
Two-play is great because you can, after the second turn, both people would be stunned.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a free win on one or two. Heck, even 3, because by turn 2, like, one of the guys will be dead.
Yeah.
He's still stunned, despite the beatdown you put on him.
Overkill.
Yep.
Because I can't carry it over.
Yeah, might as well.
It's cool looking. And he's dead. Hee hee ha. Hee hee ha ha. Let's go. Whee.
Just gotta be careful not to accidentally run into any of the Rapudgy arcs outside.
Well, even if I do, it's not a big deal. There we go. Yeah, just because it's what I have right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to be swapping everything around all the time or whatever, even once. I'm lazy.
Sure.
Is really what's happening. Time is candy. Hi, Keisha. That was too quiet.
Looking for candy.
Gotta stuff my face with as much time as possible.
I like that eyeball plant.
Yeah, I like the eyeball plant.
Did you get all the houses down there?
I think so. There weren't that many.
Yeah, because the back is mainly taken up by the hotel. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably good.
He's okay.
Delicious time.
Time. I don't have that card.
Viva Rapugia.
Viva Rapugia! I don't really have a horse in this race. But I feel I need... Oh hey, Shady's here again.
Oh yeah, he shows up.
I don't think he has anything else, though.
Clients all over Rapugia, kid. I go where I'm needed. He doesn't. But at least you can have easier access to him.
Can time be seasoned with time? Absolutely, it can. You can make a time machine out of time.
A time machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Have you heard of double time?
Chop chop, double time.
I like that the pirate has like extra graphics.
Like, arr.
And I like that the Statue of Liberty's tablet says October 31st.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with two timing. Cotton candy. Not cotton candy, cotton candy.
That's the one that guy wanted, but you only have one. So.
But I only have one. Well, we can go talk to him and see.
Yeah, go talk to him and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Red hot foam.
We did it.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Yay. What's that save point?
Will you jeopardize my pension?
Jeopardize his entire face with your giant Yeti fists.
Yeah.
3 of them. You should attack the champion, so you splash damage both and poison both of them.
I missed. It's okay, it still does splash damage.
And poison.
As I spaced. The counterattack is awesome.
Counterattack is awesome. Not arguing.
Yeah.
Just reapply those stuns every turn until you don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
Vulnerable armor.
I fucking missed.
You don't really need it, quote unquote, until the boss fight. The boss fight. Stun. Stun.
This one, right?
Yeah. And you win the fight.
Always. I win every time. I can't stop winning.
I like just watching their health fucking drain.
Mm-hmm. I had my friends over for my birthday. We played Mario Party. And one of my friends has like never ever never played Mario Party really. Like maybe once before. And he couldn't stop winning.
It was really funny.
Every chance the game got, it just gave him, you know, coins and stars and everything. It was really funny. He couldn't stop winning. Nobody could do anything about it. I think there's more houses this way.
I think there might be more houses.
Whoop.
That guy just pulled a quad.
He pulled a quad. Well, now he's gonna die.
His entire face. Giant Yeti fists.
Giant Yeti fists.
Giant Yeti fists.
Yeah.
You got him. His ass.
Kick his ass. When I was younger. Oh, you thought it was pronounced thyme. Nobody told you were saying it wrong until you were 25.
Rude of them.
Oh no.
Ah, that guy exploded into candy.
My dad always says thyme because he thinks it's funny.
It's not.
It's
but
not.
He thinks it is.
But he thinks it is.
Dad, if you're out there listening to this,
he's
really not that funny.
He has to work.
Being employed.
I wish I was employed.
You are. You do this.
This is not employment.
It could be.
It could be if people started giving me money, but nobody has any money to give.
Right. That's because all of our friends are broke gay people.
Yeah, true. That's okay. I like that we're censoring jokes. You know when a joke becomes a dad joke? When it's not funny?
When you become a dad? When the punchline becomes a parent, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
No, I was correct. It's when it's not funny.
Rainbow whips.
Nice.
No, you got all of them.
No, but I think there's some down here.
Oh, there might be some on the other side, yeah. Or some down there, yeah. Yeah. There's one.
Excuse me, can I have this candy? Thank you.
Down here.
I stole
He's
that
like-
slug's candy. It's easy as stealing candy from a slug.
Why'd you do that? He's so happy.
I
Candy.
I asked if it was if I could have it, and he said yes, so I took it. I didn't actually steal it. No, I understood the joke, Kenj.
Wait, did you not get it, even though it was your joke? Is that what's happening here?
Oh no, Luke. Did Luke not get it? No. Ken's just. Ken was just trying to make it funny.
True. True. Jack has no sense of humor. Put on that groggy face. You got a block.
I can do both.
Prove it. Oh, you did. No. See? I can make Jack smile.
No, I can make me smile. Actually, it's really easy to make me laugh.
Yeah. Die next turn, regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
You're gonna kill him with the splash damage. And
your face muscles make you smile. Right now, my face muscles
makes me
hurt.
smile.
Okay.
Actually, what makes me smile is that my face just does that. It doesn't matter what my actual emotion is, my face will just, like, default to smiling.
Yeah.
He's stunned, so just kill him.
Yeah. Boom. My face actually defaults to sad, which is really funny because I'll be focused on something and not paying attention to what my face is doing. It's just.
It's actually really hard for me to get my face to not smile, which can be a real problem in situations where I'm trying not to smile.
Yeah. But like I was at school one time and I was just focused on my work, and someone came over to me and they're like, hey Jack, are you doing okay? And I was like, yeah, why? Cannot keep a straight face to save my life.
I can't keep a straight face either.
Excuse me, Mr. Slug, can I have your candy?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween, little slug.
I love you.
I love you too. This is the cutest fucking thing ever. Alright, let's go. Not you, the slug.
No.
You're cute too, though. Sometimes. When you're not making an ugly face on purpose. Yeah, like that one.
I wish you guys could see my face.
One day, you just have to get the computer up and running. And then he can't see me.
You should punch him anyway.
But
You're gonna not be high enough level to fight the boss.
oh yeah, that's true. One day, when you and Acacia get that computer up and running, we can set it up so that you also have face tracking.
Yeah. Right now I'm gonna set it up so that
What?
You think that any of the,
You think I think?
you think that any of the things that come out of my mouth have passed through my brain at any point? They have not. My brain is too full of other people.
Yeah, mood. Wait, no. I think it's just me.
Good.
Yeah. When I first discovered like what DID is, I was like, I want to live in someone's brain for a day just to see what it's like.
It's weird.
Like I feel like it would be weird.
I can confirm it's kind of odd to like be in the brain but not like really be in control.
I want to know what it's like to have DID without like having DID.
See, I would explain it, but it's kind of, from what I can tell, it's kind of a different experience for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't have DID. I have OSDD.
Yeah, you have the other one.
So, like, I'm plural, but I'm not, like,
Yeah.
I don't dissociate, which is in some ways an even weirder experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, there's no actual, like, gap in perception
Yeah.
between headmates. So it's like, how do I describe this? And I'm still like conscious of, oh my,
I started reading that.
Is a Sans joke.
I started reading that in earnest, and I was like, someone dropped 2,000 pounds of bones on your porch? That sounds like a crime.
It's definitely a crime. I don't know what crime it is, but it's definitely a crime.
Headmates is a remarkable word.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have. Oh well.
So it's like there's no like gap in perception for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I'm still me, but who me has changed.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's like the best way I can describe it.
That's whack.
It's whack, yeah. Sometimes, also some of my headmates are close enough, are like similar enough to me that it's like I have to actively try and figure out which one I am sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The best way I've found to do this, and I got this from another friend of mine who has OSDD.
Mm-hmm.
It's also plural, yeah. Is basically like in your head, say your name. And sometimes, like, it's not the name you expect.
Weird.
Yeah. So right now I'm Penny.
Yeah.
My headmates are pretty good about, like, not being here for the streams.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, sometimes I'll just be, like, doing whatever, and, like, I kind of think in my head, like, you know, my name is, and then it won't be Penny.
That's weird.
It is. And here's the other thing that's, like, super weird about it. My headmates have different handwriting.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Both from me and from each other.
Yeah.
Well, I actually don't know if they have different handwriting from each other, because the only person who's like written anything down besides me is Faye.
Mm-hmm.
And she has different handwriting from me.
Is it neater?
It's different.
It's different, messy.
She is insisting that it is, but like...
Well, I've seen your handwriting, so I believe her.
Well, I write fast, okay?
Same. Oh, gosh. My notes, if I'm writing fast, are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like the way the bird guys walk. Look at the way they walk.
Yeah, like
With their little hands. I thought handwriting was a muscle memory thing. That's really interesting. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, it's really weird.
Alright, here we go.
Not yet. There's more houses to trick or treat at up here.
Oh.
And also you need to swap to the pirate guys.
I probably should keep the pirate one.
Yeah, swap the... I think if you just hit... Oh, okay.
No, I have to... That's fine, though.
It'll be pretty clear when the boss fight's coming up. Hi, Shady.
Hi, Shady. I would have someone taste your food from now on. Hello. Candy corn has less sugar than raisins? I don't believe that.
I don't believe that.
Lovely how you wear the pirate costume. The other two children ride down the zip lines.
Just lacerating their bare heads. Yep.
No, they generate hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Because magic pirate powers.
The power of imagination. The same power that lets you become a 500-foot tall skeleton pirate.
Mm-hmm. Badass. I think the pirate skeleton is my favorite.
Yeah.
All candy corn is sugar. That's what yeah. Oh, this is quite the combination.
Also, they're high level.
They really are.
They're expecting you to be fighting the wandering guys, too.
I thought I was.
No. Mostly you were walking around them. But also it doesn't matter because you have that two-ply. Which is literally busted.
Candy corn is made with corn syrup. Candy corn is corn. Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
You're fine. You're fine.
Hmm?
You're fine. Don't worry about it. That guy's gonna heal, and then you'll just stun the other guy, and you'll be fine. Rebel might die, but that's okay. Just stun the other guy, and then the
Wizard
will
wall.
probably heal himself.
Wizard wall.
Wizard wall. It's the wall of wizards. You're fine, see? It's fine.
My photos had to get me with extra letters here and there today. You're in the same boat as Kenj. Whiz Wolver, send more wizards over.
Kill that guy. With your last breath, stun that other cultist. Or heal. You can also heal.
Yeah. Can't stun people if you're dead.
Yeah, but they're gonna be dead real soon too. Especially because they're gonna explode from the fucking status effects you've stacked on them.
Oh wait, I thought you were stunned.
Nope, you got unstunned because it was 2 turns.
Bitch. I don't know. Phones be adding letters.
Phones be adding letters.
So your last breath stun the other cultist or heal is the most D&D sentence I've ever heard. It's pretty D&D.
Or heal.
Or heal.
Be
Extra careful with my giant hands. It's too easy to hit K instead of L. Thumbs and bad thumbs. They love extra letter. They have the word like a lot.
Oh yeah, no, that's not good. If you replace the L and like with a K, it becomes a slur.
Oh. I didn't know that. I don't.
You, having some controller issues there?
Yes.
Okay, it's working.
It's working now. Do you ever get lice when you try and type? I love that one. It's all the time. I do not lice it. Oh no. Swaps live and love, yeah.
Live at life, hanging on the edge of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are lower level than those other guys. We're higher level. Oh, that's rude.
That is so rude. Oh no. Wait, you mean to tell me your last name is not Vaderson? Thankfully, most people have auto mod set to catch and prevent that word, so I can just correct it and resend, but not everyone does. I didn't know that word was a problem. Like, I didn't even know that was a word.
It is, and it's a slur.
Oh. Oh no.
Yeah, oh no, indeed.
Well, I don't think...
Glazed butter cake.
Butter. Glazed
I like
butter.
the snow monsters.
Yeah, they're really cute. Smack. This area is literally just to get your XP up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. This is the Repugnark, like, zone, so it makes sense that all of the houses would be full of enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Butter. Yeah. Exactly.
I have never once thought about Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, too.
Have you not seen these frogs?
I have seen the frogs, but I thought they were from the first one.
Okay.
Because I didn't realize there was a second one.
I think they're in both. Just like pacify the Budweiser frogs? What is a Budweiser frog?
Probably from a commercial.
Well, yeah, I figured that one. Oh, what? Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Shield. Kill it with your cannon.
Yeah.
Yar!
Yar!
Yo ho ho!
Yo ho ho.
That's the sound cannons make.
It's a 90s thing, we're old.
I was a literal baby in the 90s.
I was not born in the 90s.
Why didn't you stun?
Because I forgot.
Oh, that guy's dead anyway. They're all dead.
They're all dead. I was there.
I seen it.
I was also not born in the 90s.
I was born in the 90s.
I was born in 2002.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up, you young punk.
I was born in the 80s. It's cool.
Lorks. That's all the trick-or-treats.
Oh no, he's stuck.
He got his beak stuck in the door. Yay.
Alright, let's go.
Finally, somewhere to focus my anger.
Cops be like.
Yeah. Cops like actively look for or invent crime.
Yeah.
Usually inventing it. 14 Rapungiart champions.
It's okay, we got this.
This is the this guy is the level gate. Skill gate.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't make it past this guy, then you have no chance against the boss, basically.
But it's fine, because we got this.
Yeah, we got this. Arr.
Arr.
Yeah. Subdivide by mitosis into 3 of the same guy.
Yeah.
Their anger could not be contained in one body. Yar.
Yar.
Arr. There's one word that says it all. Arr. Arg when I'm happy. Arg when I'm sad. Arg when I'm good or bad. Yo ho ho. Yo ho ho in a bottle of fuck.
You are a pirate.
Win the fight.
I was gonna win anyways.
Well, it's a battle theme.
So I can't stun the boss, right?
You cannot stun the boss.
So I should swap that out
You
for
should
something
swap
else.
that out for the headless banshee.
Yeah. Nope.
You also can't poison the boss. So you should swap out the splash damage for something else. Like the jawbone or the tombstone.
Let's go say hi to Shady.
Or like the health regen.
Double attack power.
Skeleton of the wolf.
Might be good.
Or headless or vampire bat.
Insane HP recovery per turn.
I would take skeleton of the wolf and headless vampire bat and use both. And use skeleton of the wolf instead of the counter.
Instead of the counter?
Yeah. Because now you're getting double attack instead of having to rely on a counter attack.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's go.
That's it.
Smack that save button. I feel like this water looked better with worse graphics.
Yeah, probably. It's goop.
Because it really does not fit in. Look at this frozen slug. Thank you for the save.
Go behind the waterfall.
Oh. Cool.
That's how you avoid that guard if you want to.
Candy. Big Bones, Araxia, brought Big Bones back. This little salute.
So long.
Lucy! Let's go! Lucy's fucking face. Rexia. Why does everyone think I'm the bad guy around here? You oppressed Oliver Puggia. You've imprisoned children from our world. And you kidnapped Lucy. That was part of... Oh, yeah, well, there's that stuff. But my candy taxes are being used for good things, like bringing cadaverous Big Bones back to full health. Once fully revived, he'll be able to crush the candy out of every world in the universe. That's horrible. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that makes you the baddest of all bad guys that have ever existed. Jeez, I can't make anyone happy here. I should just give up.
No, wait, that's not what I meant. Hey, Big Bones, what's the opposite of giving up? Take her down. Wow.
Not on my watch. Woo! Back in the 2010s, when a lot of phones used the user's personal word patterns and tendencies. So if you typed a certain word a lot, it would autocorrect to that word. Sometimes it would contextually decide you meant one word instead of another based on historic patterns. Sounds great, right? 2 words, used phones. Oh, I bought an Android phone off of someone on Craigslist back then, and over the next week, the phone kept autocorrecting things to literal racial slurs.
Oh, shit.
It also had some very interesting modifications to words that should or should not be capitalized. When I finally found the custom dictionary settings, it was like looking at a neo-alt-right textbook.
Jesus
oh,
Christ.
God. Should I be focusing on Araxia or Big
You should
Bones?
be focusing on Araxia.
Okay.
I don't even think you can hit Big Bones.
Hmm. $379 damage is pretty fucking good. Oh yeah, look how much damage we're doing. That was the wrong... Wait, no, it was the right button. Whatever. Uh-oh, Big Bone's doing something.
He sure is doing some. I would recommend using your shield this turn.
That didn't hit? Whoa, he's got a natural 20 in the face and didn't take any damage.
Oh, keep hitting him. Keep attacking.
Should I Abominable Armor?
No, keep attacking.
Okay. I will hit you again. My face is a no-fly zone. That was an interesting week for electronic communications. I had to let all my friends know what was going on so they wouldn't wonder why the word nagging had been replaced with something much worse. Oh. Yikes. How many times?
Use your arm.
How many times do you have to type a slur for it to be part of your phone's lexicon?
A lot. It has to be. You'd have to be typing it regularly.
That's fucked up.
It is. Good time for shielding.
Yeah, good time for shielding. I want to know how often the user was writing. Yeah, literally. Maybe I don't want to know. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we don't.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably better for everyone's mental health if you just don't even know.
Just don't think about it.
Just don't think about it.
Hey, look, candy.
Oh yeah, candy.
Candy.
You gonna fly there, Araxia? No?
Should I deadman?
Cannon time. He's not flying, so he's not invincible.
There
Now
we go.
you can hit.
Yeah.
Hopefully Big Bones gives you... Oh, he's knocking.
Nope. Oh, Ren. Okay, it's fine.
You weren't able to stop the attack, but I would armor up and heal this turn. Actually, maybe armoring now wasn't a good idea. Should have waited until Big Bones did his X thing.
I'm sure it's fine.
Whatever.
It'll be fine.
So you just have to hope he doesn't hit, Ren.
Yeah. Well, the shield apparently doesn't
Ren's
last.
gonna die.
Yeah, Ren might die. Oh. Yep. There they go.
Okay, you still got this.
Do I?
Yep. Armor up. And heal.
I'm familiar with the trope of Final Fantasy games having you kill God by the end of a game, but it's interesting to see you trying to kill Death.
He's not death, he's just cadaverous Big Bones.
Yeah, he's just big bones. He's Sans Undertale.
He Sans Undertale if he, like, had a diet exclusively of candy. And also if he was eating.
Yeah, this is what happens if you feed Sans candy instead of hot dogs.
Technically, they're water sausages.
You're right. How foolish of me. Big boned Sans.
Yeah, he's not fat, he's big boned.
He doesn't have any fat.
And this guy.
Die.
He might have to attack Big Bones.
I could try.
No, you can't hit Big Bones.
I'm pretty sure it's just doing the thing again. No, you literally can't.
Fortunately, your big damage dealer is gone. But he can't heal that much.
Mm-hmm.
Just whether you can out-damage him.
Banned. Banned forever. Banned forever. Bro. This would be over already if Ren didn't die.
You could run and try again.
But I'm also... Yeah, because with 2 of them down. With 2 of them down.
Yeah, if you didn't mistime the heal, which was my bad.
Alright, that's fine. We'll just read.
Just reverse time, it's fine.
Alright, let's go!
Boom, 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 boom.
He's got little flowers on his cloak. I just noticed that.
Huh.
See?
Yeah, he does.
Sentence you to non-existence.
I'm being bones and I cannot tell the truth. You may ask us one question.
Not the terribly drawn Sonic.
Sanic. His name is Sanic.
I don't care what his name is. Yes. That's me. Disrespectful.
Hit him in the face. Hit him in the face. Hit him in the face 3 times. Hit him in the face 3 times. Don't use your thing yet. Hit him in the face. Punch him in the face.
Jack is assuming people's names in the Big 25. I will hit you again. I do dare. Yes.
Bonk.
Bonk. Like, my face is a no-fly zone. I fucked it up. I fucked it up. Oh, I fucked it up
You're
real
busy
bad.
scratching your head.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta shield this.
Yeah. Should I...
Dead men tell no tales. Dead men tell no tales. Shoot him in the face. Dead men tell no tales. Boom.
Jag.
Armor and then heal. Sanic tag egg. And jag.
Jag.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Must move expediently. You really gotta pay closer attention.
I'm sorry, chat's being too funny. It's fine though. I'm gonna punch your face in the face. Whoa.
Camera angle. Oh yeah, the timing worked out.
Did it?
Yeah, hit him. Because you can interrupt his super attack by hitting him in the face with Araxia.
Right. Okay.
And then you'll have your heal and shield next turn.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fuck.
At least he attacked Everett, who has auto heal.
Yeah. Dead men tell no tales. Arr! Pirate time!
Yeah, then you get your shield up. And then your heal up.
Okay, shield.
Because Big Bones is threatening to attack.
Heal. I wish we had the unicorn.
Yeah. But we don't.
For some reason.
He started his heal loop.
That's okay, we have Ren this time.
Yep. Araxia's gotten low enough that he's starting to heal every turn. But now we can out-damage him.
I'm locked in, chat. I'm so locked in.
Lock the fuck in.
Lock the fuck in.
Ren's gonna die. Unless you kill Araxia this turn. Which you're going to.
Yes. Yes! Die! Oh, come on.
Hit him.
Just
hit him.
Yeah, okay.
Big Bones isn't threatening to attack. Just hit him.
Fuck.
Ren dead. I don't know that you can beat him unless you have 3 people alive.
Is it worth it to just attack?
I don't know.
New peepers look great, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that you can kill him unless you have all 3 alive.
Well, I can try. No, 1.
Because he'll always go down to 1 hit point and then start flying.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I know what you need to do to win this.
Put the heal on Ren.
No, because then Ren won't do as much damage.
Mm-hmm.
What you gotta do is swap to the eyeball. No, swap to the eyeball costume.
Oh. From Pirate?
Yeah. Pretty sure the eyeball has more health, and it has a powerful single target attack.
Right.
Instead of a multi-target dot.
What's up, Blackwood? Good to see you. Thank you for the compliment. The hair is not new, but thank you for... Yes, the eyes are.
Anyway, try number 3. There's also the fact that you're like only level 13 when you should be level 15.
It's fine.
Yeah, see, the eyeball has higher health than the skeleton pirate.
Mm-hmm.
We can also just hope that Araxia mostly hits Everett.
Yeah. Look, Mom, I'm on TV. I'm on TV.
Ooh, TV!
I'm missing my fucking cues.
You also gotta not fuck up the cues.
Onion time.
Yeah. You got a shield. You can't knock him down that fast.
Heal time. Gonna save my heal though.
Yeah, save your heal. Since Everett will auto heal.
Yeah. It's really hard to game and be entertaining at the same time.
It's true. I'm like focused on the boss battle. I'm like, gotta lock the fuck in.
Lock the fuck in. I will hit you again. I'll do it. I like that the music just cuts out. It's very funny.
The cycle fall. Great. Wait until after this attack and then heal.
Yeah. You gotta kind of pick your battles between being more entertaining.
Actually competent.
Or actually competent.
Yeah. Well, hit Araxia in the face.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Gotta run. The cycle was all off this time.
Yeah, there's something funky going on.
I don't know what was up with that.
Okay. Let me just...
That one wasn't, like, entirely the game's fault. Except for the fact that
Insane
you're, like...
HP recovery is definitely good. We want... Should we put the Banshee on Ren?
No.
The count. Try the counter
Ren
attack?
and Reynold have the same hit points now. No, don't use the counter attack. The only thing I can think of is going to Shady and getting another auto recover.
Mm-hmm.
Or leveling up.
Yeah. I think maybe, yeah.
Going and, like, fighting dudes. To level up.
Small HP recovery.
No, there's just not anything worth... There's nothing else worth, getting.
Let's go find some guys.
Yeah, let's go find some guys. And fight them.
There's gonna be something funky going on. Oh, shit.
Nice.
Taco Bell.
Well, we're only an hour in, so it's fine. We've got plenty of time.
We got plenty of time.
We can do this, and then we can do some Costume Quest 2. We're definitely going to have enough time to do that.
Yeah.
I think one more level should be enough to win. I don't think you need to be level 15.
I just need a little bit more health.
Yeah, and, like, power.
I don't think I did the bobbing for eyeballs, but that's fine. I don't think that gets me anything.
Should be some patrols around. One more level, bro.
There we go. Just one more level. It's gonna be a long day. Oh, sorry, Kenj. Oh yeah, it's fine. Robot's good.
Yeah, the robot has Heelys.
Your robot has Heelys. Oh, and I didn't switch back to my,
You did not. It's
It's
fine.
fine.
These guys are level 12. Not even.
Yeah.
Like I said, not even a threat.
When I was working retail, I saw so many kids fit on Heelys.
They're surprisingly tricky.
Yeah. I'll take regular roller skates, thanks. Actually, I would really like one of those. They have these cool shoes that you can like turn into. There's a button on the back and you can like extend roller skates from them.
Mm-hmm. We used to have those.
Really?
Yeah. Roxy and I had a pair that we shared.
I thought it was a new thing. Oh.
Nope.
Anyways, I want some of those.
I mean, maybe the new ones are better.
Not likely.
The old ones were really heavy and the buttons were hard to press.
No, that sounds about right.
Okay, cool. Kill those guys.
Yeah, it's fine.
Robot's good.
I like the robot.
Yeah. Cool robot.
Cool robot. Robo time.
Robot.
Mobile Suit Gundam.
Good old Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
Yeah, they're basically already dead. You can't hurt me in a way that matters. When I worked retail, I didn't get to see that, but I did get yelled at about the Xbox 360 being out of stock at launch. The Xbox 360 RROD errors, and I got a battle scar that I poorly explained as a... That's from when I got shanked by Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen! Oh no!
Oh, I want to hear that story.
Yeah. Oh, come on. My cable is broken. I never want to work retail, and I will always be polite to retail workers. I just don't think... I think I would cry first day and quit immediately. The only retail job that I have, like, thought about working is that there is a, there is a game store near me that's really good. And I thought about maybe trying to work there, but, like, I don't know. It's still retail, even if it's special interest retail.
Sure, and, you know, it's being on your feet for 8 hours.
Not necessarily. Like, I might be able to get accommodations for that. I just want to sit behind the dice counter and sell people shiny things.
That's because you're
like
basically
Pack Rat.
a crow.
Like Pack Rat.
Like Pack Rat, yeah. Pack Rat is the ultimate sales rat.
Pack Rat is my favorite.
Pack Rat is great. So, for
How do I
context,
get out of here?
I'm running a D&D game on Thursdays for Jack and some of their friends. And I have introduced an NPC named Packrat. Paqueuratt. And he runs Packrat's Emporium of Stuff, with Emporium being spelled wrong.
Yeah.
And he's great, and everybody loves him, and he keeps showing up. No matter where the party goes, no matter when the party goes, because there's some time travel involved, Packrat is always there.
Yeah.
In a thematically appropriate costume.
Pack Rat is the best.
Oh, cool, that guy.
My last retail job. A separate dice counter? Yes. Well, it's not really a separate counter, but they do have a dice counter. And they have a bunch of fancy dice in them. In the dice counter.
Yes,
It's
I'm
the
sure
best.
we have mentioned Packrat before, because...
We love Pack Rat.
Shh, no spoilers.
No spoilers!
Luke, don't spoil things.
He's not the doctor.
He's not the doctor from Doctor Who.
That's really funny, though. Last retail job before getting a gig in the plastic bag mines, I made custom t-shirts, which was a super fun job, but the customers sucked. My mom knows the guy who runs the game store. So I possibly could get, like, friendship nepoed in, maybe. if I really wanted to, but I don't.
Yes, you do. Nepotism is how...
No, I don't mean I don't want nepotism.
Oh, okay. Nepotism is how the world works. Like, that's how everybody gets jobs is through nepotism.
I'm busy working on college first.
I'm busy, sleeping, mostly.
Yeah. I was about to say, you're not busy.
I'm definitely busy. I'm busy sleeping. I'm busy running a D&D game for you every week.
Mm-hmm. That's always who you know. Yeah. Okay, level 14.
Okay, now go down there and hit him with an eyeball. Hit him in the eyeball with an eyeball. Oh, level 14 is the max level. No, don't use the pirate. You need the...
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
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 Shield guy with the heal, the attacker with the attacking, and the healer with the revive.
Mm-hmm.
Save.
Good idea.
Okay, now kick his ass.
Let's go. Let's go kick his ass.
With a maximum level of 14, each level matters a lot.
Yep. It's Big Bones.
Big Bones back. Alexia brought Big Bones back. Punch him in the face.
Doing that.
You like it? Do you like this voice? This is my voice now.
Still have a visible scar on my right hand. We had these annoying retail end caps near the registers full of random impulse buy garbage. As I was rushing past one to grab something for a customer who had already waited in line, I got caught in the incredibly sharp plastic box corner from Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen dolls. I literally got caught on it hard enough that my hand snagged on it as I was moving past it. And that's why I refer to it as the battle scar from when Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. Oh no. Oh, that's awful. Oh, it's one of those stories that hurts right in the base of your spine. Does anyone else get that feeling when someone's talking about like pain? And you get that feeling in like the base.
This time.
You get that feeling in like the base of your spine.
Yeah, the like tinglies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I armoring or am I?
No, you're attacking.
Okay.
Because the cycle's lined up.
Yeah.
Actually, is flying, so you can interrupt his thing with your attacks. Yep, I get the empathy pain in my jellies. That's a good way to describe it. Right in the jelly jams.
Jelly jam. Yeah, sympathy pain. Well, but I thought that sympathy pain was like...
Viagra falls. Viagra falls. Viagra falls him in the face.
Was like when you feel it where the person is like describing it.
Now armor.
Should I heal?
Yeah, you should heal.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the little glasses.
Yeah, the single glass.
Mm-hmm, those single glass.
It's his guard monocle.
Safety monocle.
Yeah. Safety glass.
I get the drop in my gut.
Right in the jelly jams.
Inconceivable.
Okay, Cycles have lined up again.
Okay.
Hit him in the face. And it's lined up with your special charge.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's coming up Jack this time around. So far, anyway. Knock on wood.
Let's go, yeah.
Bonk. I think you dodged that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, spam your specials this turn.
Special spam. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. Yeah, that's his full name. Just like how my full name is Jack of all trades, master of none is better than a master of one. It's my full name. You should definitely wear it out.
Sorry, it's wearing me out. Oh good, he's on his heal cycle.
Okay, here we go.
Bring him the fuck down. It's the opposite of giving up. Taking down.
Taking down. I fucking missed.
He could be down at 1 HP. Next turn. He's not.
Jack of all trades, master of none is better than a master of one draws games.
Yeah. Hit him.
Well, that's the only thing I can do, but...
Yep. Unfortunately, I think Ren's gonna... Because of that one fucked up thing, I think Ren's gonna die from this attack. Yep.
Yeah. There they go.
And then Araxia's gonna heal. Oh no, he didn't heal! You got this! Finish him off.
There we go. This is how you treat your teammates. You should switch sides. Oh,
Araxia's dead.
Araxia is fucking dead. So is Big Bones.
Big Bones goes down with him.
Oh, let's fucking go.
So it's Araxia's magic keeping him here.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Lucy! I'm so glad you're safe. They're so cute. You dismissed all sense of self-preservation to rescue me? Well, no scientific advances have ever been made without a few risks, right? Observation, that was so brave.
Forbidden battery acid.
Aww.
All battery acid is forbidden battery acid.
Oh, and look! Real scientific samples. Proof of Big Bone's existence. Hey, so can we celebrate on the other side of the portal now? Good idea, because the portal itself is a highly unstable rift in space-time that will soon collapse. Turning all molecules that pass through it into highly corrosive globules of toxic radiation, which... we should probably do that too. I just wish I could take everything back with me. Could you guys give me a minute to collect a few more samples? No. Sorry in advance, Lucy, but this is for everyone's well-being. Come on.
Shut up. That's probably fine.
Guys? Now what? Fascinating.
That's the end of the game, and they never got home.
And they never got home.
Free pool water. Anyway, it's time for Costume Quest 2.
Costume Quest 2!
Costume Quest 2. Eyeball time.
Eyeball time.
Eyeball time.
Where's the...
It crash.
Whoa, Gesundheit. Loud.
Yeah. Thanks, Double Fine.
Thanks, Double Fine. Wow.
Delicious candies.
Candy. Look at the quality increase.
Right? It's the girls.
It's the girls. I gotta make it full screen.
This.
It's not.
Oh. It's full screen on OBS.
Where are we?
Oh, a draw bug. Video mode. Try going to the advanced tab. Full screen.
There it is. Okay, that should be fine.
Yep.
I don't think it does remember my equipped costumes.
New game.
Mysterious portal.
That's the exit game.
Exit game.
Mysterious portal. Start a new game.
Yeah, I'll start on 2. It's fine. What if this portal sends us to a crazy monster world like last time? Do you have a better idea? Oh, I guess I'm just worried about Mom and Dad. Been gone for a while. Is that the portal home? I don't see any properties that would indicate a destination. I'm sure it's fine. Everett, hop in. Me? I'm not going first. There could be level 20 kobolds in there or something.
You're a Yeti currently.
Not it. I need to collect more empirical data by observing you guys entering first. Yeah, and I'm her research assistant. After you then, Ronald. I've hugged way too much glory from you already, sis. You should go first. By being captured.
You're an eyeball.
You'll be able to see the monsters better. You'd send your own brother into a strange portal by himself? You're the monster. If only one of us is gonna survive, Mom and Dad would want it to be me. Why, you little... Guys, stop fighting. Only statistically fair way to decide this is to flip a coin. Fine. Fine. Okay, loser goes first. Call it in the air. I mean tails. No, I had tails. Lay it on us, Everett. Who's going in first? Yeah, don't keep us in suspense.
It's Ren.
It's Ren. Oh, man. Congratulations. Oh, look at them. They're so cute. Whoop. Trick or treat. Hey, guys. We're home. I had a good feeling about that portal. Something feels off, though. It wasn't Halloween when we left. Well, that actually makes total sense. It does? These portals are likely wormholes through space-time. We probably just experienced a little time dilation. Yeah, Everett. Duh. So we're time travelers? Sort of. We did some quantum stuff. Nobody can actually travel through time. I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't that Dr. White? Why is he so fidgety?
I can't.
That dentist always gives me the creeps. Who cares about him? Let's go to my house and sort our candy. good idea. I need to unload all my licorice on you guys. We should check in with Mom and Dad first, though. We'll meet you there in a few minutes. Okay, see you soon. Come on, Lucy. Last one there's a rotten egg. Look how much better it looks.
Right?
Wow.
Much improvement for the sequel.
I feel like this runs on Unreal for some reason. Hey, Dad. Hey there, Ren. You excited for the Halloween block party? Halloween block party? Sounds awesome. Should be. I guess we'll see you over there in a bit. We're waiting for Mrs. Putterpam. She needs help setting up her pie table.
Talk to your mom, too.
Oh, yeah, talk to Mom. Hey, kids. I was just wondering where you guys were. Hi, Mom. We're just checking in. How responsible of you. How long have we been out playing again? Who knows? I just got up from a nap. Don't stray too far, kids. The Halloween block party's gonna start soon. So not, like, too long.
You know,
I don't know why, but this feels like Unreal to me.
I don't know, maybe. It might be on, like, proprietary engine.
Yeah. Lincoln, not Amish. Whenever I take a nap, I refer to it as shitty time travel. The textures are higher quality, but the grass is still visibly flat as the earth is as if it was shrunk down to the size of a ping pong ball. Hang on, what did he say?
The nerve of throwing block party on my, like a Halloween party on my street.
Hi, Dr. White. What are you doing out here? Can you see I'm busy? Does it look like I want to be interrupted by an eyeball? Why don't you go brush your teeth? I can smell the sugar on your breath. Yeah, sounds like fun. We'll think about it. Man, what crawled up Dr. White's rump? He always kind of gave me the creeps. Now he totally gives me the creeps.
Talk to some of the various kids around, I guess. Or try to go that way.
Yeah, that looks like plot. On my way, brats. Hey, watch it. There you are. You're late. We said we'd meet by the alley. What are you doing over here? You're a time wizard. You have no excuse for being tardy. Anyways, let's get down to business. Are you ready to pay your debts? Magic shit. At last. Now I will take what's mine. Did you see that? I'm standing right here. I have it. It is mine. With this talisman, I have unlocked the monster gate. The Repugians are free. Now I can use them to rid the world of candy and Halloween. A dental hygiene utopia is within my grasp. Ooh. Uh-oh. That guy's falling on the car is so funny. Uh-oh. Our costumes. What's happening? Reynolds, this way, quickly!
Yeah, they made their own bespoke engine for this and Brutal Legend.
Ooh! Well, it looks very nice.
That makes sense, actually.
it has the.
That's probably why it looks so good, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that probably tells me how. Why can't I ever land on my feet? That was crazy. What the heck just happened? You just traveled to the future, kids. Reynold, it's so good to see you again. Do we know you? Don't you recognize us? It's Everett and Lucy. I love them. And guess what, guys? We're married now. What? I knew it. I knew you had the hots for her, Everett. Guilty as charged. I wish we had more time to catch up, but we need your help with something urgent. Oh yeah, we need to hurry. We don't have much time. We need to get another time hole open, but you guys will need costumes for this. Run out to the shed in the backyard. We've got a couple stashed there that you can borrow. And be very careful not to be seen by any thing. What do we need costumes for? Hurry, they know we're here. We'll tell you more when you get back with those costumes. You got a quest. Look at these graphics.
Yeah, you got like stats and shit.
Got stats.
And your candy bags increase your attack power now.
Oh, cool.
So there's all the more reason to candy corn.
Oh man, not this stupid candy corn costume again.
Fucking tooth drones.
I hate them.
I hate them so much.
What? What? You kids shouldn't be outside with costumes on. You know the law. The law? We're from out of town. No candy, no costumes. It's ridiculous, I know. But it's Overlord White's world now. That dental drone would have nabbed you if I hadn't been here to stop it. Thanks, but we can handle ourselves. I believe that you believe that, but I want to see for myself. Let's see how good you are with that superhero costume. Fighting time!
Corvus is great.
I love that the superhero changes depending on if Ren or Reynold is wearing it.
Yeah.
Okay, show me what you got. Oh yeah, it's gotten...
And there's affinities now.
Yeah.
There's like type affinities now.
Timing could be better. Try hitting the attack button at the impact. Okay.
There's like action commands now. Well, there was before, but the action commands are consistent between costumes now.
Yeah.
Owing to the combo system that appears later.
I love this bird. Yeah. They know about timed hits.
Better watch out. They know about timed hits. They're gonna punch your lights out.
If you land attacks on the enemy or take damage, your special meter will fill up. When you fill it all the way, your special ability will unlock. Okay. Throw a bus full of candy.
Yeah.
I deserve that. Alright, that's all I have to teach you for now.
I like that he has 4 katanas.
Yeah. Okay, well, a bird taught us how to fight. Good, you've found the costumes. I've got the time hole open to the past. You can enter when you're ready. What are we supposed to do in there? We need to find a family of witches guarding a monster gate. I don't know where they are exactly. I'm sending you just before Dr. White went back. You have to find them before he does. Okay, here we go. Bye, guys. I love these little drawings. They're so cute.
Yeah.
Where are we? I don't know. These time holes are messing with my guts, I think. Well, I guess we better start looking for those witches. Like that.
Nope.
They're cute!
Those are
Witches.
cronies.
Did we find the witches? No, false alarm. These are standard human children. They do not have the talisman we seek. You're looking for the witches too, huh? That's too bad for you. Why do you say this, human child?
Why do you say this, human child?
If you're looking for the witches, that means you're in our way.
Ha! Do you think you can deter us? We are the shards of Chronoculus. We are everywhere. We cannot be stopped.
We'll see about that. Oh, they look so cool.
They look really cool, yeah. Candy corn is delicious.
Candy corn is over it.
Candy corn has one use, and that's that enemies are more likely to attack candy corn, and it has a high natural defense. Also, you get an achievement if you fight every battle with candy corn.
Candy corn ruminates.
If you have candy corn active for every single battle, then you get a special achievement. But then you're essentially fighting, with one person down.
Yeah.
Candy corn is
is
going for the long
long
con.
con.
But then you get all the candy corn quotes.
The candy corn quotes are very good.
Do you want to go for the candy corn challenge this time around?
Ooh, should we? What do you think, chat? Candy corn is just a stage name. Should
Do
we?
we want to go for the candy corn challenge, or do we want to play normally? Keep in mind that it's the 15th, and we only have like 2 more weeks.
Oh, we only have 2 more weeks, then we can't. We can't do the candy corn challenge.
We have 2 more Wednesdays.
I mean, we'll go into November if we have to, but
Well, they say no due to wanting to see all the costumes in action. Yeah.
yeah, we seek the achievement. We'll do it. We'll do it another time.
Yeah. Don't forget to drink water, hydrate or dihydrate, because your health is preserved between fights now.
Oh, that's right.
Hi, Monty.
Hey, y'all, don't just stand there holding your pail. Help me. Whoa, what are you doing with that gator? Some of my girls got loose. Thought it'd be funny to rip up my costume on Halloween. That looks dangerous. Why don't you just let her have it? I worked all week on my costume. I'm not about to let these gators ruin my night. Look around and see if you can find the other pieces. I've got this one handled. And hurry before Gertie gets all batty on my arms.
I love the sign. Monty's Gator giddy up.
Yeah.
Monty Gator.
Hydrate, hydrate. Thank you, Luke. I have iced coffee.
That's not water.
Yeah. There was a study done.
Oh?
Mm-hmm.
By whom?
I don't remember. But Mom told me about it, so it must be true.
Yes, because everything Mom says is true all the time, constantly.
Well, if she's talking about a study, then yes. Because my mom knows how to read studies.
It's true. I do not doubt Mom's ability to do research.
Anyways, there was a study done on like tea and coffee and whether or not it actually dehydrates you. It doesn't. It does hydrate you. It is mostly water.
Coffee is a diuretic, though.
It is a diuretic.
It makes you poop.
But, and that's the reason why people think...
Then you go pooping.
That's the reason why people think that it, like, dehydrates you.
But yeah, you can do the robot thing on every one now.
Give me that. The air contains
No,
atmospheric water in low percentages, and as such, breathing qualifies for the hydrate routine.
No, it doesn't.
It
You got a
doesn't.
phone ball.
But coffee does. Coffee is fine.
Coffee does, yeah.
Basically, the amount of coffee you would have to drink to outdo the effects of the water that's in the coffee is so much that the caffeine would kill you before you would be dehydrated. Or Just
you gotta
you would
punch
be
the-
so
you gotta
sick.
Punch the other gators.
I did punch the other gators.
No, there's one gator that has a squeaky horn.
Where?
He ate it. You gotta.
There it is.
Yeah.
Found
They're
it.
the big gators.
But yeah, so
I
coffee
like
and
those
tea
gators.
do not
They're cool.
are actually hydrating and do count.
I choose because of this bit. I choose to believe that Auburn Pines is in Florida.
Yeah.
Or Louisiana.
We found your costume pieces, I think. There's alligator drool on some of it. My clown costume! My Halloween is saved! Look at him, he's so cute. Your Halloween is saved, but Halloween in the future is doomed. Yeah, like the same as getting irradiated by bananas.
Yeah. Okay, so there are a couple of optional costumes in this game.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's really easy and obvious to find. The other one is a bit trickier.
Okay, well, we'll do our best.
So one of the costumes, you'll probably just find it by nature of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is a bit trickier.
Okay, well,
So I will guide you when the time comes.
You tell Chad about that while I go to the bathroom.
Okay, well, I'm not going to spoil it for chat, but I'm going to take mental control of Jack's model real quick. So I'm Jack now. Hello. I'm Jack. This is what Jack sounds like. But yeah, there's a really like elaborate set of steps that one has to take in order to get the like ultra secret costume. Because there's only like 2 secret costumes in the game that are optional. Yes, it's me, Jack. I have returned quickly. And I'm moving my eyebrows. That's how you know it is me, Jack. Because I am talking while moving my eyebrows, just like Jack does. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, I got bored being you. Well, I'm looking stuff up. I'm trying to do like some research on the other one.
Jack do a dance. Just got back from trimming my face follicles. Good. Jack, you sound different. No. I love that the chat lag is such that I have returned and chat is still talking about it. Oh, it's funny. It's a long story, but we're here to save it. We just need to find a coven of witches guarding a talisman somewhere around here. You mean them bog witches? I can show you where they are. Just gotta wrestle up a boat. Maybe we are just so shook. Okay, Monty, get your gator out of the way. That's not one of mine. I ain't going near her. Well, how do you move a gator? You can try using my squeaky horn. They really hate the sound of this thing. Okay, let me try on that clown costume. Clown time. Beep beep. Look at her go. Sans. Looking for witches, huh? You're gonna need a boat. Dang, you look cadaverous. I'm a skeleton kid. Get over it. You got a boat? Sure do. I'll take you right to him for a price. Keep talking. I came here for candy, but these human grown-ups are stingy. They just scream and slam the door in my face. I need you to fill up my pail with candy and bring it to me. Trick or treat at every house Bring me the mother load. Then we could talk about going to the bog and seeing those witches. Ever think about the fact that they're inevitably all getting super sweaty in these costumes and then trading them with each other?
Nope.
Gross. You heard it here first. Engaging in activities alligators are confirmed to hate is a good idea and leads to a prolonged clown lifespan. You want us to trick or treat, huh? I think we can manage that. I mean, a ton. So much candy that you're embarrassed to be seen with it. I'll wait for you at the dock in town. Low
His bucket
bones.
was already full of candy.
Was it?
Yes.
That's really funny. Why is Candy's gonna put more junk in my trunk? Why do you?
Get it because he's a tree.
Why do you care about that, child?
Also, you
A
should smash those
skeleton.
pumpkins so you can get more candy.
Yeah. I wish the animated they made an animated show inspired by this game.
They did.
And I really wish the art style had stayed.
Yep.
It's like it just looks generic and bad. It makes me really sad because I love this game's art style. It's like super unique and adorable.
I just really want a third game.
Yeah, third game. Double Fine, please.
It is futile to seek the talisman. We are everywhere.
You like my crony voice?
Yeah, it's good.
Yes.
Yeah, they made an animated show, but it just looks like a generic.
It lasted like one season.
Yeah, probably because of the art style. Oh yeah, I forgot about the fucking clown. I have a love-hate relationship with this clown.
I love the clown.
I love him, but also he kind of terrifies me.
I love him so much. I love him because he's mildly
Candy corn has your back. Nice.
He's unfortunately weak to beast types. The crony combatant is a beast type, so throw candy at his face.
Yeah. Candy corn is silent but deadly. I like candy corn. I like talking as candy corn, but like Ice Bear.
Yeah.
I missed that completely somehow.
Candy corn takes a pass.
Bonk. The enemy here looks like something from Has Been Hotel. Probably the other way around.
Yeah. You should switch to the clown costume so you can get the clown costume intro.
Oh yeah, true.
And also so you can Hulk 1,000 times.
Hyonk.
I control time. Your quest is futile.
My quest.
I control time. Your quest is futile. Your costume quest.
Costume quest. I love him.
Not a fan of the way the male superhero looks.
Yeah. He's kind of meh.
I get it. He looks like Mr. Incredible, but like... Clowns also honk.
Candy corn meditates. Untitled Goose Game mentioned.
Clowns. Still clowns. 3 crony combatants.
Candy corn is good.
Candy corn is good. You can honk if you want to.
Can you imagine how frustrating it
Friends
is
don't honk, and if they don't honk, well, they ain't no friends of mine.
for Reynolds being stuck in the candy corn costume, not being able to fight?
Yeah,
I'd be like, fuck, man, can I
candy corn.
have a different costume, please?
Time. No.
Candy corn is alliteration. Is it?
Candy corn, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is. They really sat in a meeting room one day and were like, we need candy corn phrases.
We need 10,000 candy corn phrases. Laughter's the best medicine. Clown is great because it's a healer. Banana. Banana.
The clown reminds me of a Shoochuru short.
I agree. Candy corn can't control. This is my candy corn.
It's your candy corn voice.
This is what candy corn sounds like. Candy corn can't control.
I feel like candy corn needs to be more Ice Bear and less
I don't know Ice Bear.
detective. Ice Bear sounds like this.
You didn't really need to do that because that guy only had 10 hit points left.
Yeah, but it was funny.
I guess you did hit the other guy pretty significantly too.
Boing, boing, boing. Oh. There's a little sleeping gator.
I like the gators around. I like that one is asleep. You gotta go find some water fountains you can heal up
Yeah.
before you go do more trick-or-treating. Don't forget that you can skate all the time with the trigger.
Yeah.
And also switch to the superhero so that I don't have to look at the guy's superhero anymore.
Yeah, true. You right.
Drink from these suspicious skeleton fountains.
I like the lumberjack costume, that's funny.
I'm just really curious what some of these costumes would look like and or do in battle.
I'm sorry, is that a shark costume?
Probably.
That's awesome.
Oh look, there's a tiny version of Dr. White.
Hmm. Wow, neat costumes, guys. Thanks, you too. Oh, this isn't a costume. I have to wear it to straighten my teeth. I sure wish my mom would let me wear a costume. So his mom sucks.
Trauma.
The future richest person in the world. Is that right? Yep, one day I'm gonna dredge up this dumpy swamp and cover it with tract houses. I need to get semi-rich first, though. It takes money to make money, you know.
Well, good luck with that.
I just don't... Shut up.
Kids wanna cook. Tiny, not Walter White.
You look like a savvy investor to me. If you want to make some candy, come talk to me later. Okay. Trick or treat. Man, there's a lot of these guys.
You could go try to get the third costume before you fight more of these guys. Do more trick-or-treating.
Oh, yeah. I should do that,
So
probably.
that at least you have a full party since you're not planning on doing the candy corn challenge.
Yeah.
Plus, I think the third costume is strong against beast types.
Hmm.
Oops. Made a candy corn.
Way to candy corn.
Candy corn rests on its haunches. Man, there are a lot of these. We haven't had a repeat yet.
I don't think I had a repeat like the entire time I played the last time. Forms.
Candy
Candy corms.
Candy corms.
Candy corn.
Candy corn is an enigma wrapped in a delicious candy shell.
The timing on the clown is kind of hard. I don't know why it is, but I was having trouble on it in my last playthrough as well. One of Candy Corn's stripes is a racing stripe.
I love candy corn. I also love candy corn IRL.
It's not my favorite, but I don't actually hate it.
It's candy corn, it tastes good.
Candy corn raises its hackles. Crave more Halloween candy. We got a giant Costco thing of Halloween candy. It's almost gone already. Hasn't even been a week. Splorts. I will say I don't like the creepy treats as much in this game.
But they're actually useful.
Yeah. I like that they're useful, but I mean the art.
Equips.
Art-wise.
It's true. I don't like the arts as much as... Basic attacks are much easier. Muted minions, magic attacks. Okay, cool.
Put...
Those are not great, but they're fine.
Yeah.
Candy corn's kind of thirsty.
Candy corn needs water.
5-pound bag of good and plenty. There sure is plenty, it's true.
Okay, where's the costume?
You gotta go into town.
Okay. This is what 2 pounds of candy feels like. Ooh.
Ooh, attack type. Running machinist.
Do I use these up when I use them, or?
They have a cooldown.
Okay, they have a cooldown. Candy corn doesn't listen to the haters. The United Kingdom, 2 pounds of candy does not often weigh 2 pounds. Too bad. Oh, my timing's off again.
Candy corn had arms, this fight would be so over.
Why is my timing so off right now?
Because you suck balls.
I need to like recalculate my brain. What's up, devil child? Best at what? At dueling. There's no one better. Or more humble, apparently. I'm the humblest, but I'm also the humblest, but I'm known more for being the best. You don't have an instrument. Why are you here? Ooh, sweet pterodactyl costume. I need a musical in. Please tell me this counts. It does.
absolutely does.
Oh, we call it a draw. I'll give you the pterodactyl pattern. You keep this between us. Sounds fine to me. We both know who really won anyway. We do? Who was it? Me, right? Or you? How can you even tell?
You got a pterodactyl.
How many supernatural creatures are pretending to be children here? What's a pterodactyl? It's an awesome flying dinosaur. Let's look around for materials so we can build it.
That always gives me away. Hey, it's Shady.
Hey, Shady! What are you doing out here? How'd you get out of Repugia? Got clients all over. Go where the action is, kid. But this is decades in the past. You think I'm gonna let some chump from the past take all my business? Psh, you don't know Shady. So listen, you want some creepy tree cards or not? I got some good ones in here. Let's see.
A map of the lower bayou.
That's probably a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Chosen hero takes 2 turns.
Suckums are great.
Yeah. Stun a minion.
Bones are great.
I get my freaking. There we go.
Snickets are pretty good.
So I think I want.
Caramels are also pretty good. You want to have a bunch of these because you want to swap them out while they're recharging.
Yeah. Go tweet.
Secret talisman no more, human child. The dentist must have it.
The dentist can suck my nuts.
You.
Yeah, I don't actually want that. Please don't. The dentist can suck someone's nuts. And not in a pleasant. I'm gonna stop. Candy Corn's having a bad hair day.
Candy corn doesn't even have hair.
Candy Corn's having a bad hair day, okay?
Look, I'm sorry, Candy corn.
The salt-coated nuts you occasionally get when people are stingy with Halloween candy, of course. Hands dentist a bag of airplane peanuts. I don't know what others might be referenced here. Good.
Candy corn doesn't think of itself as a piece of candy.
What does Candy Corn think of itself as?
Candy corn.
Hey, Shady.
It's only 11:09. Not that I'm in a hurry to like end the stream or anything. I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm. It's a eep a day. It's a little eepy.
Just a little eepy today.
Just a little eepy today.
Just a little eepy today. We gotta talk to that kid. Not that kid. The kid that's obviously hiding.
Candy corn does not think of itself as a piece of candy. Candy corn is the candy. And also a vegetable. Oh yeah, I gotta swap back to the yeah. Hey Shady, do you have more creepy treat cards? That's good. It's probably based on level. How do I Great.
Or progression.
Where do I get the stuff for the pterodactyl?
I don't remember. Talk to people. It's not trick-or-treating, that's all I know.
If candied apples are a thing, then what's to stop the same happening to vegetables besides the taste, of course? Yeah, I would say the taste is the main thing there.
You got some paper matchy.
Paper matchy. I had to break this person's pinata.
Hell yeah. Fuck up that pinata. They didn't want you to smack their pinata, they shouldn't have left the pinata hanging around.
Mm-hmm. Trick or treat. Sorry, kids, I ain't got no candy. But if you got yourself a broken bat, I can help y'all out.
Broken boat.
Broken boat, not a broken bat. Okay. Is this what you wanted from me? I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing.
You're supposed to find people who look like they might be interested in something and distract them with the horn.
My mom says candy will rot my teeth. Your mom sucks.
She does. His mom really sucks.
Hey, what'd you do that for? Can't you see me enjoying this crazy kid over here? He's okay, but have you heard the authentic French Quarter of music before? See for yourself, they're about to jam in the square over there. Is that the guy from the carnival? As a kid?
I think that's Orzo.
That's adorable.
Yeah, there's a kid hiding.
The kids that are hiding, you can't find them because they don't look like they're hiding.
You can tell because they're looking around nervously.
Yeah. But that's like the only thing that gives it away.
Yep.
Otherwise it's like, oh yes, another kid in a costume. Can I go in here? I can. Get out of the way, pigeons.
Bitch.
Pitch, pitch. Pinata!
Pinata!
Candy corn experiences mild terror upon witnessing the destruction of a candy corn-shaped pinata. Candy corn fears nothing and cannot be killed in a way that matters.
Candy corn can tell the difference between fiction and reality.
Candy cordyceps. Oh, free music. Candy corn can only be killed by throwing the one corn into the fires of Mount Doom. From cart. Yeah! Almost there! I would love to be deep fried. So warm.
Warm and cozy.
Warm and cozy.
Warm and cozy deep fried people.
Hi, skeleton kid.
Little bones.
Little bones. He turns into big bones.
Turns into big bones. Cadaverous big bones. And then you murder him twice in the future.
Yeah, we're gonna murder him twice in the future, but it's fine. He's kind of a bad guy in the future.
He's kind of a dick in the past.
Yeah, but he's not a bad guy.
He's just kind of an ass.
He's kind of a little jerk.
Kind of a little shit.
Gotta get some music cred.
Yeah.
Is that enough of a crowd?
Are you a crab? Oh, crowd. Really rocking that clown horn.
Yeah. They're rocking the clown horn.
Got music cred.
I got music cred.
And you
And I leveled up. Yay! Yeah, I got music cred now.
Yeah.
$50.
Neat.
Is he gonna motion to me again?
I don't think so. It's jazz.
Harmonious Minx on the sax.
Harmonious mink.
That's my main man Slim Willie on drums. Big Daddy on bass. If only it was that easy. See you, Luke.
Clown horn time.
Why is Costume Crest written on the cover of that journal in the Death Note font?
Why not? There ain't no back door.
It is that easy if you're good.
Yeah, you just have to be a clown horn prodigy.
Yeah. Alright, gotta find the rest of these costume pieces.
Were there a car horn?
I found the paper mache. Where's the other ones?
I don't know. Somewhere.
I thought you were doing research.
Probably roofs.
I was looking on the roofs.
Probably more roofs. Or better roofs. You could also look out in the bayou. There might be more stuff in the bayou. I was doing research, but only for the, like, really super hidden one.
I love these maps. Look at the way Shady has drawn these maps. This is a pack rat. This is pack rat vibes. These maps.
It is pack rat vibes.
If pack rat was to give us a map, it would look like this.
It would probably look like that, yeah. Out the little gator drawings.
Little gators. Alright, well, let's trick or treat. It's pronounced paper machete. It's not. It's definitely not. Thank you for the candy. We're gonna give it all to some skeleton kid who already has candy. Like a joik. I got droll time. The request is futile. Is it? Is it? Is it though? Clown time. Oh, I forgot to change back into the superhero. That's fine. There we go. Good timing. Candy corn does nothing. Nice. Nice indeed. Block. Block. I blocked it. I blocked it. No. Do you guys ever play like little like mini LARPs as a kid, and then there were always those kids who were like, no, but I blocked it. And they like wouldn't let you do anything because they were stupid. I always got very annoyed trying to play with those kids. I'd be like, just play the fucking game. Or like those kids who would go like, well, how about when I do the thing, and then you, and then, well, how about this? Fucking it annoyed the crap out of me. I was like, no, just play the game. No, but I also have this power, and it cancels that out. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Whoops.
Apparently,
Candy corn is now destroyed.
Hex editing, you can unlock the pre-order and PlayStation exclusive costumes.
Huh.
It's not even that difficult. You just need access to a hex editor.
Cool. Calvin Ball, but hostile. Calvin Ball's already hostile. I love that anyone who has experienced that knows exactly how that sounds. Yeah. It's just like how Superman's real power is just coming up with powers as needed. Oh no, candy corn's been poisoned.
There's apparently one on top of a boat and one on a boardwalk.
Specific.
Yeah.
That's probably in the other area.
The bayou area.
Okay. The other ones are around the bayou.
But yeah, there were some. You should go to that fountain first.
You are
there
correct.
were like a bunch of pre-order costumes that were only available through pre-orders, and then there was one that was PlayStation exclusive. They were all Costume Quest 1 costumes.
Ooh, I want to see those in the new game.
Yeah, the pre-order costumes were the robot, the unicorn, the pumpkin, and the eyeball.
The pumpkin!
And the PlayStation exclusive costume was Sackboy.
I don't care about that one. Sorry, I like Sackboy, but I truly do not care.
I just think it's amusing that he's in the game.
Yeah.
And that his, like, normal costume is, I think that might be the boat over there. And his like, normal costume when he's not in combat is just literally like a potato sack on your head.
Boat over where? That's really
Poor
funny.
Sackboy, nobody loves it.
No,
I love Sackboy.
Sackboy.
But he's no pumpkin.
He's no
You
pumpkin.
should talk to the future rich kid.
Okay. Yeah, okay. An IOU. Where's the boat?
There's a fan boat over there, but
It doesn't have anything on it.
Ooh, a hidden kid.
Hidden kid.
Oh, there's on top of a roof there.
Ah, okay. Nice.
There you have increased candy, and also
Potato sack.
you have higher attack power.
Wait, so how do I get the I need a hex editor?
Yeah. So go past that house there. Go past it. No. Go onto it. Go up to the house. Don't trick or treat at it. Not that house. That house. No, around
I
it.
see.
Drop down onto the boat.
I see what's happening. Originally, he
dinosaurs.
couldn't fly. Same with Lex
Yay.
Luthor being
Now
bald.
you have the pterodactyl. Now you can blow away those piles of leaves.
And I can give... Yeah.
Unfortunately, that means you do have to look at the male superhero if you're doing it
It's
that way.
fine.
Now you can trick or treat to your heart's content. Because there are no more costumes until later.
Mhm. Candy! Candy! Yeah, wait, why is Lex Luthor bald if... Yeah, Lex Luthor was a ginger, but the letterist got confused on who is who! So they made him bald? I'm gonna try the hex editor thing. Before the next stream. Egg. Get egged.
Face.
Decided the bald henchman was Luthor. Oh my, that's funny.
Pterodactyl. And pterodactyl.
Yeah. Pterodactyl.
Ghost Munch.
Ghost Munch.
The minion's attacks damage itself. It's a great card. Now you just need an extra Ghost Munch to trade with that kid.
Yeah. Give me all your candy. Going from a paper lunch bag to a potato sack is a big upgrade.
Yep.
The whole flight thing was a result of a misunderstanding by the creators of the first Superman cartoon. They apparently didn't communicate with the people who made the comics at all. Just looked at some panels and misinterpreted Superman jumping high as flight. So in the cartoon he flew and people loved it. So basically got retconned into the canonical lore. Oh my god. That's so funny. Just through a series of miscommunications.
Yep. That's how a lot of things happen, honestly. It's just through, like, miscommunications and misunderstandings.
block. Get blocked. Idiot. When I was playing this last year, I think it was,
Yeah.
I was streaming it from my computer upstairs to the TV downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And the
You
amount of lag.
You can't play a game like this with lag.
This is so smooth and amazing. The amount of lag was so bad.
Unplayably bad. I remember that.
It was funny though.
It's pretty funny.
I just was like missing everything. Eventually I got it and I just basically forced my brain to work with the lag. But yeah. Need a serious network to be able to do that. I thought we had pretty good Wi-Fi. I bet I could do it at my dad's house, but that's not... My dad's house doesn't have stairs, so...
Yeah, there's no reason to do it there.
Yeah. Well, if I wanted to play on the TV.
I guess.
Or projector, because my dad doesn't... We don't use the TV, we use the projector.
Yeah. I think it's silly.
It is silly, but it's also amazing.
Right, but it's very silly. He has a big TV. He never uses it.
And an even bigger projector screen.
Yeah.
It's great.
You gotta go to the portal.
Go to the portal?
Yeah. You're high enough level, you can go talk to Corvus.
Oh, okay.
You go back to the future and,
Go Back to the Future?
yeah.
That's the wrong franchise.
Seriously, you want to?
I want to finish trick-or-treating.
No, you want to do that first before you do anything else. Trust me.
I'm trick-or-treating.
Okay, but Corvus gives you combo attacks.
Okay, that's cool, but I'm trick-or-treating.
Yeah, but if you want to be able to fight better.
Yeah, but I can fight better further.
No. Combo attacks.
I've got a 6-point mesh set up because my place is 3 floors. Really nice for streaming my gaming PC downstairs, my Steam Deck upstairs. Higher resolution than that, though, it falls to pieces. Block. Get blocked.
Block.
Get blocked, idiot.
Idiot.
Idiot. I need to do more things in my day-to-day life so I have things to talk about on stream.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm equally boring.
I just like
so I
don't
really have anything to add.
I just like don't go anywhere, so I
And
just
unlike
don't talk about
on Zelda
anything.
days, you're actually like pretty good at this game, so like
There's not a lot for you to do,
there's
yeah.
not a lot for me to do or say. Because I can't like really be all that critical of your gameplay, because it's honestly pretty good, except I could be like, go get Corvus!
Yeah, doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know you have a crest whaler living in your backyard? He told us that candy was illegal. Halloween is illegal. No candy or costumes. Once Dr. White opened the monster gate, he brainwashed them into helping him obliterate all of it. That's depressing. That is depressing. Let's learn more. Combat.
Yeah. Combat time. Combat time. Do great combos. Combat time.
If you're agile enough, you can get an extra attack in on your enemies before they know what hit him. Attack me now. If you land a well-timed blow, you'll see another opening to attack. Nice.
Yeah. Plus, I mostly wanted you to do this because the animations are cool.
They are very cool. The trick is just to collect borderline traumatic stories that you can laugh at when enough time has passed. I finally blocked all of my toxic ex's accounts on Discord. I didn't realize there was one that I still had, like, friended, and I looked at it and I was like, wait, who are you? Like, why am I friends with you? And I looked at it and I was scrolling through all of the text and I was trying to make sure that it was, like, actually them. And then I was like, ew. And then I blocked it.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, are you funny or did you have a normal childhood? Oh, it's you guys. Yeah, it's just us, Monty. It's fine. Are you funny or did you have a normal childhood? Neither. I'm very lucky that most of the people I've dated I get along with very well as friends after the fact. I've only have a couple who were toxic, but they were incredibly toxic and problematic, so maybe that balances it. I've only ever dated toxic people.
Well, you've only ever dated one person.
2 people.
Oh, 2 people.
And
I'm
also,
very happy in my
I kind of almost dated my childhood best friend, and then they left without saying goodbye or anything.
Ouch.
They went to Europe and stopped talking to me. Yay! Trauma!
Yay!
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 I have an anxious attachment style. Yay!
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, for real. Oh, that house is an X house. That's not a.
It was a house, but now it's not.
Get to this candy corn.
You are not the house. You're not capable of being the house. I had a house, but now I don't. You are not the house.
What the fuck is that?
It's from that fucking... There's this song made entirely out of Breaking Bad clips.
Oh, that's right. You showed me that.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to try my new my new thing.
Yeah.
Bitch. Oh, why is candy corn candy corn?
Candy corn. It's because candy...
Ah, I hit my elbow on my desk. Ah, that fucking hurt. Ah, I'm gonna die.
You're not gonna die.
I'm gonna die of elbow pain.
You're gonna die of elbow pain.
Candy corn takes up space.
Quit being a drama monarch.
Drama monarch. He's trying to non-binary.
Yeah. Drama monarch.
Drama monarch. Drama monarch?
Drama monarch.
Drama monarch is like when someone tells on you for being dramatic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Drama duchy. I had one who sent, I genuinely counted the next morning more than 600 angry / threatening texts to me in one night. More than 2 months ago, 2 months after we'd broken up. She's apparently doing the same to 2 other people at the same time.
Jesus Christ.
Woof.
Congrats on getting out of there, though.
Ooh, candy corn upgrade.
Yeah. Candy corn becomes even more delicious.
Enemies' attacks heal rather than damage.
Oh, Goozer's is fucking amazing.
Definitely want that. Definitely want that. Okay. Really illustrates that.
Treat can really get you out of a tight spot.
Yeah, really illustrates that leaving was the right call.
Yeah.
Indeed.
For real, for real.
Basically, all of my relationships ended because the other person stopped talking to me. Just, like, completely ghosted me. So that's kind of fun, I guess.
For some measure of fun.
I've never had to end a relationship because they've all left me.
You know what? They're the best in both cases.
Yeah, pretty much.
It still sucks that it happened.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that it's happened 3 times.
Yeah, it's like me with college roommates.
What?
Did you not hear this story?
No.
Okay, so for like the 1.5 semesters I did college, I dropped out because I had a major panic attack and couldn't leave my room for a week.
Oh, that sucks.
It was the first like debilitating panic attack I ever had, and I was not handling it well. But it was partially brought on by the fact that so I had a roommate, as one does in college, and I come back from classes one day and he's gone. He's just gone.
Fuck? Wow.
His side of the room is cleaned out. He's just gone.
Oh.
No notes, no nothing.
He's
I
gone.
get called to the counselor's office late. And like they like talk about like something. I don't even remember what they were fucking talking about.
Yeah.
And I see on his desk when he like leaves the room for a second.
Yeah.
I should not have been snooping, but I see on his desk that there's like a sticky note out in the open that like says apparently my other roommate left because I had poor hygiene.
Oh.
Which, yeah, was a problem, but it's not like he talked to me about it.
Yeah, why didn't you just say...
You need to shower more or whatever. Like,
yeah, instead of just leaving. Communication.
Like, I acknowledge I was a bad roommate back then. I was going through some shit.
Yeah.
Whatnot. But, like, he could have at least had the courtesy to talk to me.
Yeah, just, like, say something.
I tried to be friendly. I really did.
Yeah.
And then, so that sent me into kind of a depression for a while.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got over it, and hey, you know, on the plus side, I had a room all to myself, and that was kind of nice for a while. And then next semester, I get another roommate, because that's how that works.
Yeah.
And, like, a couple weeks into the semester, he's gone. He disappears again.
What?
Like, a second unrelated guy fucking vanishes on him. And, again, I acknowledge that this is probably my fault.
Yeah.
I was not... I was going through a lot of shit. I didn't really know how to live on my own.
Yeah.
Because I never had to, like... But I was doing my best, and nobody fucking talked to me, or, like...
Yeah, like, a little communication would have made that better.
A little communication would have gone a long way, I think, and... You know, I'm not blameless. I'm better now than I was. But, like, fuck. I can tell you that was a subject of,
yeah.
therapy for a while.
I'm sure it was.
I still have that, trauma of, like, worrying that people are gonna disappear on me for no reason. Or that, like, I'm secretly doing everything wrong and nobody will tell me until it's too late and they just leave.
I try to tell you if I have an issue.
I know, and I appreciate that.
Because nothing will change if you don't communicate.
Yeah, but people don't fucking communicate.
No, they don't.
That's what I learned from that experience, is that nobody will tell you anything, they'll just leave you one day.
Yeah.
And you should be anxious all the time, constantly, about people you think are your friends might disappear on you, and they might not actually be your friends, and they just don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I have that fear.
So that was fun. I had that fear validated.
Well,
That
yeah,
experience.
that fear was validated by my several, albeit toxic, relationships ending because people just stopped talking to me.
Woohoo! Trauma time!
Trauma time!
Trauma.
Yay! This is what you wanted, right, chat?
This is what you wanted. You wanted this.
You started this.
You did this. This is your fault.
People are too scared of confrontation and they treat communication like it's a fight. Yes! Oh my god. There are some people in my family who do that exact thing. Where you try to talk to them.
I'm trying really hard.
I'm not talking about you.
I know, but like I grew up with like
You do fine with communication. Yeah.
No. So now I'm really scared of like communicating, but I do my best.
Yeah.
Because I'm always afraid that like communication's gonna turn into a fight, or I'm gonna get shut down or whatever. But like,
Yeah. I have to try really hard not to turn communication into a fight and to just be like, okay, they're just trying to communicate something to me, because I grew up in that environment and that was kind of how I learned that communication happened.
mm-hmm.
So yeah.
It's like my current relationships have been very good.
My candy.
Or,
What a jerk. He stole my candy.
he sure did. But like my current relationships have been really good for like reinforcing that communication is not scary.
Yeah.
Because they're awesome people. And one of those awesome people is in this chat right now, and I love you so much.
Yay!
Yeah.
Spooky. My mom won't let me trick or treat. I want to try candy so bad. I guess I got a little desperate. Cool costumes, by the way. You've never tried candy before? That's crazy. What is this? Who are these brats, Oral? These are nice kids, Mom. We were just talking and stuff. What is that you have there? Where did you get this? That's our candy. Oral was just borrowing it for a bit. You gave my little boy candy? And what is that you're wearing? Are those costumes? Mom, they were just... Get inside, Oral. It's time to brush your teeth again. And you, take this poison away from here and get off my property. Ow, bitch. If I ever see you near my boy again, teaching him the evils of Halloween, you'll be sorry.
What a fucking bitch.
Wow, what a bitch. Some people, yeah.
Wait, sucks to be that kid.
I think that kid is our dentist. My folks were very backhanded growing up. The default was to find the most fucked up way to cut somebody down. I knew I didn't want to be like that, but it still took a lot of conscious self-deprogramming to switch that off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, like, when I'm talking to the person who does that, especially, like, it's really hard to stop myself from, like, getting into it. Because they'll start and start doing that. And, like, I wouldn't care if you told me, give me that candy. Yeah, it's really hard to stop myself from joining in. Hardcore Southern Baptist type, surprise, surprise, right? Hey, are you ready to go? What? Oh, yeah, okay, let's go. Oh no, the boat! That's not good. Can you fix it? We really need to meet with those witches. Do I look like a boat mechanic? You look like a skeleton. Exactly. And skeletons don't fix boats. Not to overgeneralize. Anyways, if you can find a mechanic to fix it, I'll take you over there. Otherwise, I'll be here eating this sweet nectar. Oh, Lil Bones. You'll never change.
It's true.
Hi, boat mechanic. 50 bucks? Looks like I got 50 bucks. I got 50 bucks right here. Yeah. I just fixed your boat. Are you serious? We didn't pay 50 bucks for an oar. This thing's only worth like 20. That's true. But it cost $30 for labor. Labor? What labor? I ain't got time to explain the intricacies of my business, kid. It's complicated. Besides, we're closed now.
You just got ripped off by a shitty adult.
Yeah. That was our music money. Oh, look at his eyes!
Yep.
Hey, Lil Bones, we got you an oar. This'll work, right? Oh, hey, you found my oar! I was wondering what happened to that thing. It won't be as fast as the fan, but it'll do. Let's go. I like his candy eyes. Candy eyes.
He's got them candy crazy eyes.
I can't do the crazy eyes anymore. It's not as effective. But it's much better normally. I need to make them smaller. When I open my eyes really wide.
Mm-hmm. You gotta, like, set up a crazy eyes. Like.
Yeah. Boat time, boat time, boat time.
Boat time.
Those witches of yours live somewhere on this island. Good luck finding them. This is my stop too. I'm out of here. Feel free to use that boat. It wasn't mine anyway. And the fan works now. Really just wasted 50 bucks.
Yep. Could have just done some percussive maintenance.
Smack. Smack the gator. Because that's a smart thing to do. Excuse me, sir. I need to tell you something. Hey, little one. Does your mom know you're out here? Thanks for your concern, but this is an emergency. What's the big emergency then? Our dentist. He's crazy. He made some sort of pact with a wizard, time wizard, and he's headed here right now to steal a talisman from you. A dentist, huh? Well, I can assure you that we can handle any dentist that comes this way, kid. Can I interest you in a gator burger? We have plenty. No, listen. Excuse me, ma'am. You're in super big danger right now. I know this place seems creepy. We've lived here for years. Nothing to worry about. Do you want to join us for some barbecue? You guys aren't getting it. Our dentist is coming from the future to steal your talisman. I don't know how you know about the talisman, but I can assure you of one thing. These burgers are delicious. You guys should join us. No. Listen. Why does nobody ever listen to... Hello? We're here to warn you. You're in danger here. Why did they look exactly like Ren and Reynolds? What? Don't sneak up on me like that. Oh, hey, wait.
Yeah, it's Dorsilla.
Dorsilla? Do I know you? Nope. Never seen you before. Why are you trying to rile me up? Let me roast my marshmallows in peace. Hey, kid, you guys are in some serious danger. From what? How'd you get here, anyway? There's a dentist coming to steal some sort of talisman from you. Why would the dentist want our talisman? That's ridiculous. Are those your parents? No. They're Dorian and Dorsilla. From the first game. My dad's been guarding the monster gate since he was a kid. Last thing he's worried about is some stupid dentist. Why won't you guys listen to me? Halloween is at stake. Calm down. Look, I've got the talisman thingy right here. It's fine. Careful with that, Dorsilla. Our family's been using this to keep the monsters from coming through that gate for generations. I doubt some dentist is gonna suddenly travel through time and take it.
Proceeds to do exactly that.
I'll take that. Drusilla! Time wizard. I saw what you did to the future, Dr. White. We're not gonna let you destroy Halloween. Let me? I've already done it. Say goodbye to your disgusting tooth-rotting holiday.
Also the whole fascism thing. Like, that part's bad too.
Yeah. That does it. This ends now. Yes. Yes, it does. Chronoculus. Uh-oh. I have a feeling we can't win this one.
Oh, you absolutely can.
You can?
Yeah, kick his ass.
Oh, sick. I will. I will kick his ass.
You might have been able to stop my cronies, but you cannot stop Chronoculus.
Yeah, I can. Pterodactyl! Egg.
Egg.
Sweet justice. Should have swapped them. He's ugly. Sorry, Reynold.
Don't use your thing yet.
No.
Your full health. Bonk.
Bonk again.
Bonk. Amazing! He's, magic type, so.
Oh. Woe is Dinned.
Rose Reynolds.
Bonk, bonk. Reynold is stunned. Bounce. Oops. I fucked up.
You fucked up.
I fucked up.
You fucked up.
Block. I blocked it.
The blocking's more interesting in this game, too.
Yeah.
Kind of Mario and Luigi stuff. Attack his clock. I like how the enemies look at the person getting hit like, ugh.
Yeah.
I think we don't have anyone strong against,
Isn't the superhero?
No, he's weak against machines.
Oh. My time piece.
No, my diamonds. I'm making it out.
Flying fist. Oh, I don't know
So you
why
can
we're.
just finish off.
I didn't realize I was aiming at the other one.
He's pissed.
Nice. Yeah, get that timing.
Time. I feel like you're not as big in this one as you were in the other one.
No, because look at the little buildings down there.
Yeah, but they're like not quite as small.
I think they are.
Are they?
No, how did you defeat me? I can't wrap my head around this. I'm so disappointed.
Frostbites. Nom nom.
I didn't foresee that out. Oh well.
Dr. Chronoculus get free. That's impossible. Yeah, he was locked in a time-proof cage. How did that dentist even know he had the talisman? Like that. That was messed up. Unless we have the clock, he can't do any more time traveling. We need to get back to Everett and Lucy. Hope that time hole was back where we left it. Me too. It won't be, though.
There's just one grubbin.
The doll is mine. Yeah, whatever.
It is 12:01, by the way.
Okay.
So it is time for us to wrap up so we can jump over to Blackfoot.
That's true. I'm gonna...
Kill this guy.
I'm just gonna run.
Goodbye. I've never seen that animation.
Tiny umbrella, oh my god. Drink some water. Save the game. Sneeze.
Sneeze.
You okay?
Yep.
That was
The
a,
cat
was
room full of cat.
a loud sneeze. Why didn't you take an allergy pill?
Because I forgot. I forgore.
Oh. Well, okay.
Anyway,
It's time,
everyone.
It's time to go raid Blackfoot. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you again next Wednesday for more of this. And tomorrow we're getting back into Baldur's Gate. So make sure that you're in the raid. Make sure if you're not in the raid, to click into the raid so we can go to Blackfoot's stream. And we will see you.
Time for music time.
Music time. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
Let's get funky.
Bye bye.